You're with CapeTalk.
This is Africa Melane on Early Breakfast.
President Cyril Ramaphosa delivered the closing statement at the 46th Ordinary Summit of the SADC Heads of State and Government in Durban yesterday, emphasizing the need to accelerate implementation across the region. The question we're asking this morning, now that we are the chair of the SADC, what can we do to ensure maximum benefit for the country? Dr Lisa Otto is a professor at the Department of Political Sciences at UNISA. Lisa, a very good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Africa. Thank you for having me.
A lot has been said and reported around the March on March, marching to the ICC yesterday, obviously sharing similar sentiments as they did in the build-up to June 30th. And that seemed to potentially run the risk of derailing what is actually important business that is being discussed by SADC. From what you've gleaned, Lisa, what opportunities are there for South Africa's chairmanship of SADC over the next 12 months that we should be exploring?
I think the opportunities are difficult, as you say, set against this moment. We find ourselves in Africa where we're really not very popular at all as a result of xenophobia and the narrative that's predominant around migration at the moment. I think it's very difficult for us to advocate for, free movement and the kind of measures that need to be taken in order to open up trade and to facilitate that trade when we seem to be so against having other people from Africa within our country. So I think it's a very difficult moment against which we need to be pursuing issues around trade, issues around increasing that intra-regional trade, around peace and security and so on.
Because the objective is to push intra-SADC trade towards 50%. I'm not sure what the current levels are, but 50% is quite significant.
Yes, I think the current levels are around 20%. And I think obviously there are lots of opportunities for South Africa's banks and retailers, construction companies, logistics operators, and the like to deepen that integration. But I think there's a lot of friction already in terms of businesses that are out there because of how South Africa is being perceived. And then I think we've got logistical challenges as well around our transport corridors, our ports, around the regional power supply, and around beneficiation. And so there are a lot of challenges. And I think, President Ramaphosa has already hinted to the need for moving away from rhetoric actually towards implementation. And then that's the gap there at the moment.
Yeah. I imagine another area of focus was that of energy, right? Thankfully, South Africa is, in the main, has said goodbye to load shedding. But our neighboring countries are saddled with energy challenges. What opportunities lie there, do you think?
Yeah, I think there are opportunities perhaps in showing how we got over the load shedding challenge, which I think is something of, it feels like something of a miracle for South Africans who were saddled with it for so long. But, there are other opportunities in terms of perhaps the development of nuclear, in terms of hydroelectric energy, and in terms also of the gas resources that are off, both coasts. There are challenges to that as well, particularly if we're thinking in Mozambique around the insecurity in Cabo Delgado and the impact that has on the gas industry. So I think some interlinkages there between the developmental challenge and the security issues that are ongoing and that I think SADC has struggled to address.
And then on the issue of migration then, Lisa, how does President Ramaphosa use this chairmanship, do you think, to reset our relationship with the rest of the continent, where migration obviously continues to be a challenge? And I think it was the foreign minister of Lesotho, Minister Tau, who said that the issue of migration is a challenge for the entire region. How does he use the region to help address issues of migration, do you think?
I think it's a difficult one because I think on the one hand, it's tied to the fact that we're going to see this kind of dissatisfaction because we still continue to struggle in South Africa with our triple challenge of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. And so obviously we need to be pursuing opportunities for economic development that can help us deal with meaningfully addressing those problems and meaningfully improving people's lives. But at the same time, we do, hold this kind of position on the continent where we have a leadership role, but that has often been perceived by other countries as being quite big brotherish or bullying. And so we need to find a way forward in which we I guess, humble ourselves maybe a little bit, and find a pathway, forward in terms of equal footing where we can actually gain the respect of other countries who want to be led by us rather than feeling that we are kind of forcing matters. So I think it really is a difficult one to manage. And ultimately, free and open kind of movement of people is at the center of the regional economic integration vision. And so, there's a difficult balancing act, but I think we need to move away from a narrative, this kind of damaging narrative that we have around migration, towards one where we can see the benefits of it as well. So a difficult task, I think, for South Africa in that regard.
For sure. Lisa, thank you very much for your insights this morning. Dr. Lisa Otto, professor in the Department of Political Sciences at UNISA, reflecting on South Africa's chairmanship of SADC for the next 12 months.